Hi. There was a time where I went to Donna Anderson's site called Love Fraud, and there I started talking to the women there. And one of them, to test me, for whatever reason, she wanted to test me. I suspect that because automatically angry women, they when they are together, any man in their path becomes a suspect of being a psychopath. So she asked for some suggestions, book suggestions. I gave some of the suggestions that I gave in one of my first videos here. And I also suggested Sam Vaknin's book. And one of the women responded angrily at me. Her code name was Jan 7, and my code name was Tom Booker Echo. I took the Tom Booker name from that movie, The Horse Whisperer. I don't know, for some reason I just liked the character. He was a very strong man. And the Jan 7 girl went nuts, saying, "Don't read Sam Vaknin's book, blah blah blah." Every time I see somebody echoing Sam Vaknin's ideas, I get suspicious, and then I unfortunately I responded to that. I said, well, I'm gonna remove my because her argument is because Sam Vaknin is a diagnosed psychopath, and there is even a movie, I guess everybody knows, a movie about him and about how he bullied the director, and he explains about what happens during a verbal attack. Well, the Gen 7, this crazy woman, she said that I tried to explain, it was a mistake. I tried to explain to her things, and the more you explain to an abuser, the more enraged the abuser gets. So I received verbal abuse from her and other girls who said, "Yeah, you're right, I was suspicious of this man from the beginning." And she said, how can you recommend some Vaknin's books, and how are you a psychopath yourself? I felt very hurt by this question. She said, "Are you a psychopath yourself? I know that Sam Vaknin goes online pretending to be other people just to promote his own work." Crazy woman. And only one woman thanked me for writing some book recommendations there in Love Fraud. I don't like to think about Love Fraud now. It's got good stuff to read and stuff, but it's too feminine, you know. And with all due respect to women who watch my channel, I am not anti-woman. On the contrary, I try to be very understanding of women, and turns out women don't care, don't give a shit about me. Well, maybe I'm just being resentful of whatever in my life. But feminism may have something to do with this, especially because they say that there are more abusers that are male than female abusers, and then when there's a site when women get together and the man victim also is there, they get all feministic, all estrogen power or something, and they scapegoat the first man that appears. I was very hurt, man. By this verbal abuse. First, I have the right to recommend whatever book I want, so it was a violation of boundaries. I have the right to read what I think is helpful, and I have the right to recommend whatever book I think might be helpful, because it is my mind. She didn't make any book recommendations first. It's funny how they criticize the work that somebody has previously done. Well, if you don't like my recommendations because of Sam Vaknin, and then you accuse me of being a psychopath and having Sam Vaknin's ideas in my mind, why didn't you do a better job instead of criticizing me? Another thing I want to say is the hate that I found that these women have against Sam Vaknin. They have their reasons, but I'm talking about because I read him and I recommended his book. The hate was displaced from him to me, and I have nothing to do with him. So misdirecting the hate to another person other than the source is unfair. And there's a lot of people who hate Sam Vaknin, who think he's dangerous to read. But I have something to say about him, not about him, about his work. This is what I feel. And Sam Vaknin's work, the book, before buying his book, I read several other books that I talk about in the channel. But reading his texts on the internet and seeing his videos, I felt that his information was had the detail and the amount of depth that I needed at that time. I had so many questions that needed answering, and motivated by pain, I went on a place where you go on the internet and bought his ebook. And there I found specific information that I found nowhere else, and that healed me. I remember one place, to give you an example, when he speaks about the sexuality of the cerebral narcissist. And because I was victimized by a woman, and by the way, there are lots of women who are abusers, alright? I don't know why in this world they say that the male, there's more men abusing women than women abusing men. But I don't know. Perhaps it is not known because women have this stigma, or women have this image of being of having to be always good, of being always good, because if they are not, they can be labeled very easily, more than men. That's why women are very protective of their reputation. Okay, if they have needs, carnal needs, like any man do, but if they do it so openly like the man, they get labeled a slut, and that's very hurtful, obviously. So they either do it hidden, very carefully, to protect that image, that social image. And because they have to protect this image, of which is a kind of cruel and unrealistic expectation of women, but I didn't make these rules, alright? Women are thought to be always the good and not abusers, but that's not true. And if somebody did some research, there are a lot of women who are psychopaths out there, narcissists, but they just know very well how to hide it, how to hide their affairs, and how to hide their misbehavior, so that they don't get labeled a slut. Male narcissists can be labeled sluts very easily because it's already normal with healthy males. So psychopath doesn't make any difference. Bear in mind that's just a thought, my thoughts. Okay, I don't know if they have any, they can be validated or not. This was just a parenthesis, but Sam Vaknin gave me the information in his book that my woman, my narcissist, Narc 3, he said that the narcissists have because of their identity crisis, they also have a sexuality crisis. So you might notice that even if you are involved with a woman, which was in my case with a woman, I notice he points out that she can have homosexual tendencies or lesbian tendencies. And when I read that, I said, well, that makes sense, because my Narc 3 had male ways and demeanor. Even her biotype and the format of her body was not feminine. It was like a bull, you know, a male that does bodybuilding, but instead of muscles, she was fat. and the face, always serious face, neutral face, like someone who has anhedonia, no emotions. And she acted like a man. And he points out that the female narc might have, because of the mental illness, might have higher levels of testosterone in her organism, in her body. That's why they are so competitive. They have male traits, okay? Because being competitive is a result of the effects of testosterone, and it's naturally, biologically male thing. But female have more testosterone, so they act more manly or something. And well, I had no doubt that I started to think, well, my narc 3, she can easily be a lesbian too. It hurts a lot when you're in love with someone like that and you realize things, ugly things. For me, think about it. I'm not being anti homosexuals either. I'm just being like, who needs extra competition, sexually speaking? When you're in love, it hurts a lot. And the fact that Narc 1 in my life was a very openly lesbian led me to believe that Narc 3 could also be a lesbian because of her manly ways. And it's dirty because in the beginning you don't think those things about the person. During the relationship, they 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 make you feel more and more suspicious of them. But you have to deny in order to avoid abuse. And if you talk about it, you receive abuse, and you suffer the guilt trip and stuff. It's a living hell, of course. Well, but some Vaknin gave me those specific informations that were very helpful, so I recommended that book, and I still recommend it if you need specific information in order to heal. Because knowledge, it validates you, because we get no validation anywhere in these stories, in this story with narcissists. So anything that can ease your pain, despite the fact that people hate him, people consider him dangerous and stuff. Now, that's his videos were also very useful, very helpful. So there are reasons to be careful with his work too, but not to the point of dismissing it completely or being hateful of someone who read him or recommends him. That's too much. And it doesn't mean that because I read him, I am a psychopath also. Now, there is things in some Vaknin's work that are not so helpful. But if you think about it, in everywhere you can find things like that. Yeah, you read a book, some chapters are useless and others are good. Nobody has. You take whatever helps you and you throw away what doesn't. The things that are not helpful in Sam Vaknin's work, especially in his writing, is his insidious way of trying to make us empaths feel pity for the narcissist, and it's very subtle, but it is there. And maybe it's not even intentional, who knows? But it is there, and so we have to be careful with it. Certain passages, he tries to the subtext of his writing is understand the narcissist He deserves your understanding. But I tell you this, why would an empath be willing to be understanding of a narcissist if narcissists are not willing to do the same job and be understanding of empaths or people pleasers or HSPs and correct their behavior? Behave in a way that is not so destructive, because he says that it is possible for the narcissist to train himself to avoid his destructive behaviors, or at least minimize them. He cannot be cured, everybody knows this. The day the narcissist is willing to be understanding of us empaths, even though he cannot feel, he cannot have the biological idea of empathy, but they can learn strategies in therapy to hurt more. People say that on the internet. Narcissist uses therapy as a tool to learn how to destroy other people. So because he doesn't have the biological capacity for empathy, he knows right from wrong, doesn't he? So he can very well be understanding of empaths. And he is wrong in, well, I cannot say he's wrong. I think it is not appropriate to ask us to be understanding of narcissists, because we, in the relationship, we have been understanding of them the whole time. We forgave abuse. We understood his pains and stuff. We try to please him and stuff. So I don't think it's fair to ask more of victims. And so this is something that is dangerous in his writing, and it's just take the information you need, but notice the insidious of the writing sometimes that tries to make us feel pity for the narcissist and be understanding and stuff. And be aware not to be brainwashed, because it is so subtle that it can brainwash you. So take whatever you want, read another stuff, then you can come back to his work and stuff. There's no need to hate and to dismiss anything that might be helpful to ease our pain. And the last thing I want to talk is when for example, he says in one of his videos that the narcissist is a force of nature, which is a strange way of a very narcissistic statement, in my opinion, humble opinion. He's just trying to aggrandize something that already tried to aggrandize himself in our relationship, and really so a creature that is wounded is no force of nature. There's no force of nature in something wounded as a narcissist. Because of his wound, he cannot have a proper, intimate and adult relationship with anybody. So that's not a force of nature. That is a weakness of nature. The narcissist is very limited. He has several grave limitations. And if we are very honest, the narcissist is not a force of nature. The narcissist is just an asshole. He's just a piece of shit. So that's what I wanted to say, talk about it. Like anything, you take the good things and throw away the bad things. Read with care. Be careful in what you read. and don't need to abuse people, don't need to hate. If you have your opinion about Sam Vaknin's work, uh, be respectful. I don't think it's fair to hate everybody who reads his work and recommends it, because I had reasons to good reasons to recommend his work. And I have a survivor friend who also mentions him. She's a very good friend. She's a subscriber. I'm not gonna use her name because I don't know if she would like that, in order to protect her privacy. Uh, she's from America. I think you know who you are. You've been very kind to me. But she always makes reference to his videos and his writings. Thank you for your time.